Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this hat here. It's the double elf hat is what I call it. I guess that's what you'd call it. I don't know. This would fit toddler size between 1-3 years old with the hook size that I'm using. Now if you want to make it like for a bigger, maybe 4 or 5, you could use one size bigger. If you want to make it smaller than mine, use one size hook smaller. But I think it turned out pretty cute. And I also want to take a moment to ask you if maybe you could come and not to forget to subscribe to my channel. That way, every time I put on a new tutorial, you'll get an update so you never miss any of my tutorials. And also, if you watch this video and if you like it, if you could go ahead and maybe give the video a like and a share. Maybe share it on Pinterest or Facebook or something. That'd really help me out a lot. I appreciate that. So I'll show you what I used here. I did put a button on it just for decoration. That's not anything that you have to do, but I'll set it to the side. I used Caron Simply Soft Party Yarn. It's the kind with the streamers in it. And it's almost 100% acrylic. It's 99%. It's just the metallic because it's got the streamers in it. And there are... I don't even know. I'm probably looking right at it. Oh, yeah, I am. 164 yards per skein. And it took pretty close to... I mean, there ain't a lot left here. So you're probably going to need about 130 yards of your main color. And this color is called Teal Sparkle. It's really, really pretty. And then for the white... it's the same brand I used, only this one is called Snow Sparkle. And you don't really need a whole lot of this, maybe 30 yards or so. 50 yards probably with the pom-poms, but not a whole lot of that. You don't have to use this brand any. And then I used a size, for my size, I used a size I, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Remember, if you wanted it to fit a smaller child, you could try it using a smaller hook, and I don't see why that wouldn't work, but yeah, give that a try. And if you wanted it to maybe fit like a 4 or 5 year old, maybe go up to a J hook, and that would probably do the trick. I can't say for certain because I didn't do it, but more than likely. But so yeah, it's pretty easy. Let's go ahead and get started on it. Okay, you want to start off with a chain of 56. And then without twisting your chain, you want to follow it down. We're starting on the brim of the hat first. And slip stitch into your first stitch to form one large ring. So go ahead and slip stitch into there. And now what we're going to do is do a chain of 1. And we're going to do a double crochet right back into that same spot that we just slip stitched into. So go right back into the same spot. And double crochet, and now I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch for the length of the chain, or for the whole, and around the whole ring, until I get back to the beginning. So 1 double every stitch back to the beginning. Okay, once you make it to the end of round 1, you want to go ahead and slip stitch into your first double crochet, not that chain one, but the first double. And now you'll have a total. You should have a total of 56 stitches. So what we're going to do now is chain 1, and then go back into that same stitch and double crochet. Now that double crochet is going to act as a back post double crochet. So what we're going to do is front post double crochet around the next stitch. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go around the front post of the stitch like that, and then just do a double crochet. So that's a front post double crochet. Now we're going to back post double crochet around the next one. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go at the stitch from the behind like that. So the post is on the back of our hook. And then we'll go ahead and do our double crochet. And that's a back post double crochet. So that's what we're going to do the whole way around. The next stitch is going to be a front post double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, go around the post of the stitch like that. So the post is on the front of your hook, and then do your double crochet. And then the next stitch will be a back post double crochet. So we'll yarn over, go around the stitch from the behind like that, and then back around. And that way the post is on the back of your hook. And then go ahead and do double crochet. So front post around the next stitch, front post double crochet. And then back post double crochet around the next stitch. Front post around the next stitch. And then back post double crochet around the next stitch. So I'm going to repeat this pattern of the front post double crochet, back post double crochet all the way around until I get back to the beginning. Okay, once you make it to the end of round 2, you should have ended in a front post double crochet. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first double crochet, and you still should have 56 stitches. Now we're going to start round 3, and what we're going to do is just repeat round 2. So we're going to chain 1, go back into that very first stitch and just do a regular double crochet, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet around the post of the next stitch. And you can see that the post, you'll be able to see the post better once you get this row going. And then we're going to do a back post around the next stitch. So we yarn over, go around the post of the back there, double crochet, and then a front post double crochet around the next stitch. And then a back post double crochet around the next. And we're just keeping the posts lined up. That's what we're doing. Front post. And back post. Front post. And back post. And we're going to keep repeating this all the way around until we get to the end of round 3. See, now you can see the post a little better. Okay, once you make it to the end of round 3, what we want to do, you still should have 56 stitches, is slip stitch into the first double crochet. And I'm going to color change now, so I'm going to tie off. I always tie off on a color change. If you don't, that's fine. You can change colors however you do. But I'm going to bring in my new color here. So I'm going to grab my new color and start right there where we left off. I'm going to bring it in and chain 1. Now I'm going to go right back into that same stitch and double crochet. Now I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch all the way around. So I'm going to go to the next stitch and double crochet. Now we're not working post anymore, we're working in the top of each stitch. Just like this. So 1 double crochet into the top of every stitch until you make it back around to the beginning. Just like that. Okay, when you make it to the end of round 4, you should still have 56 stitches. We're going to end with a slip stitch into our first double crochet. So now we're just going to be repeating round 4 for a few rows. So we chain 1, go back in the same stitch and double crochet. And now it's just 1 double crochet in every stitch all the way around. So we're working on round 5 right now. Like that. Okay, you want to repeat round 4 for a total of 10 rounds starting from round 1. So it was 1, 2, 3 of the back posts, and then we did 4 was the 1 double crochet in every stitch, and you want to repeat that for a total of 10. So that was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now what we're going to do is chain 1 for round 11, and we're going to put 1 double crochet in the next 26 stitches. I'm sorry, 26 stitches. So yarn over and go into the first one, the same stitch that you slip stitched into, and that counts as 1. So we need to do 26 in a row. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, once you get your 26 stitches done, what we're going to do is come right over here to this first stitch, right over on this side, and slip stitch into it. So we're going to be working right now in this small area here of our 26 stitches, and we'll do over here later. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a round of decreases. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to do 3 double crochets in a row, and then we're going to do a double crochet decrease. So we're going to go right into that first stitch and double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet in the next stitch, and then in the next one. So that'll be 3 in a row. And now we're going to do a double crochet decrease. So what we're going to do is yarn over, and it's a double crochet decrease is worked over 2 stitches. So we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch and drop a loop, and yarn over and go in the first 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over again and go into the next stitch, drop loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and then you'll have 3 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 3. So that took 2 stitches and made it into 1. So we're going to do that again. We're going to work 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do a double crochet decrease over the next 2. So we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. Then we're going to yarn over and go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over and go through the 3 loops that remain. Again, we're going to double crochet into the next 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to double crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches. So we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, then we're going to yarn over and go to the next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, and yarn over and go through all 3. So we're going to repeat that sequence until we get right back around here to the beginning. Okay, when you make it back around and you just did a decrease, you should have 1 stitch that remains. Just go ahead and put a double crochet into that last stitch, and then we're going to slip stitch into our first double crochet right here, And now you should have 21 stitches. Okay, we're going to call this round 2 of the hat point. There's going to be 2 points on it. So right here was the first one that we had the 26 stitches. And now we'll have 21 here on round 2. Now we're going to start round 3 of the first hat point by chaining 1. And we're going to go right back into that same stitch and double crochet. And now we're just going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch around. We're not going to decrease this round. So 1 double in every stitch all the way back around until you get back to the beginning. Just like that. Okay, I'm coming to the end of round 3 on the first point of the hat, and I have my 21 stitches. So I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch into my first double crochet. And now I'm going to do a round of decreases again. This time I'm going to put 2 double crochets in a row, and then I'm going to do a decrease. So I'm going to chain 1, go back into the same stitch and double crochet. And then I'm going to double crochet into the next stitch. And now I'm going to do a decrease over the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go into the next stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and then yarn over and go through all 3. Again, I'm going to put 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 and 2, and then I'm going to do a double crochet decrease over the next 2, yarn over, go into the next stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, go into the next stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and yarn over and go through all 3. So I'm going to repeat that sequence all the way back around to the beginning. Okay, I've made it around to the end of round 4 of my first hat point, and I did my decreases. Then I have 1 stitch left. I'm going to go ahead and double crochet into that last stitch, and now I should have a total of 16 stitches. And I'm going to go ahead and end round 4 by slip stitching into my first double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch around. So I'm going to go into that first stitch and double crochet. This would be for round 5 of the hat point, and then I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch around until I get back to the beginning. Okay, I've made it back around from round 5 of my first hat point, and I have 16 stitches still. So I'm going to end it with a slip stitch into my first double crochet. Now I'm just going to start decreasing every round just by 2. So what I'm going to do is chain 1, and I'm going to go and I want to put 1 double crochet into the first 6 stitches. So I'm going to start by putting a double crochet into the first stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Gets a little awkward to work with when it starts to get tiny like this. 5, 6, and then I'm going to decrease over the next 2 stitches. Like that. And then I'm going to put 1 double crochet in the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I should have 2 stitches that remain, and I'm going to go ahead and decrease over those last 2, and now you should have a total of 14 stitches at the end of this round because you took 2 away. So I'm going to end round 6 of my point by slip stitching into my first double crochet. Now I'm going to decrease again by 2. So I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to do a double crochet into my first 5 stitches. So we yarn over, go into that first one, do a double crochet. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then I'm going to decrease over the next 2. And then I'm going to double crochet again into the next 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you'll have 2 that remain. Decrease over those last 2 stitches, and now you'll have 12 stitches that remain. Go ahead and end with the slip stitch into your first double crochet, and that was round 7 there. 12 stitches. Now I'm going to do a double crochet into my first 4 stitches. So I'm going to chain 1, go back into the same stitch, double crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Decrease over my next 2. That. And then double crochet again into my next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 stitches remain. It's getting tiny. Decrease over those last 2, and now you will have 10 stitches that remain. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stitches. On the 8th round of the point. So go ahead and end it with a slip stitch into the beginning double crochet, like that. Now we're going to do a double crochet, you could probably guess it, in the first 3 stitches. So go ahead and chain 1, go back into that same stitch, double crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3, decrease over the next 2, like that. Double crochet in the next 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Decrease over the last 2, and now we'll have 8 stitches that remain. And in a slip stitch into your first double crochet, like that. That was round 9. Round 10, chain 1, that we're going to do a double crochet in the first 2 stitches. So go into that first one, double crochet into the next, and then double crochet decrease over the next 2 stitches, and then again, and then we're going to double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So there's 1, 2, it's getting pretty tight. 2 stitches remain, double crochet decrease over those last 2, and now you'll have 6 stitches that remain, go ahead and end with the slip stitch into your first double crochet. Like that. And that was around 10. Now what we're going to do, since it's getting pretty tight, we're just going to close it off. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to do a double crochet decrease in every stitch. So I'm going to go into the first one that I just slip stitched into, drop a loop, and in the next one drop a loop, yarn over and go through all 3 again to decrease over the next 2 stitches. So there's go into the next one, drop a loop, and the next one drop a loop, yarn over and go through all 3, and you'll have 2 left. And go into the next one, drop a loop, and the next one drop a loop, that, and now there'll be 3 stitches. Instead of slip stitching into your first stitch, because if you can do it, you can do it. Try to, I guess, but I'm not really going to. I'm just going to pull my yarn up and leave a long tail to sew that end together. So I'm just going to take it and go over into that stitch that I would have slip stitched into, and kind of just do this. Now I'm just going to kind of hide my tail as I'm sewing this end up. I'm going to put a pom-pom on it so it doesn't have to be extremely neat. But just like that. Okay. Now, if you want to leave this on here to sew your pom-pom on with, you can. I might leave a little bit. I actually sew up my pom-pom a couple times, and then I usually put a dab of hot glue on it too. So, but now we're going to start over here and do the second point of the hat. So we're going to skip. We're going to start by skipping 2 stitches. So here's the one we worked in. So we're going to skip this one and skip this one, and we're going to start here. And we're going to do the exact same thing that we did here over here. So I'm just going to start my yarn and chain 1. And I'm going to work over the 26 stitches with the double crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. When you make it around, you did your 26 stitches. You'll have 2 stitches open. Just go ahead and leave them open, because you have 2 stitches open on the other side too, because we skipped those 2 stitches. Just come right around, and this will be row 1 of your second point, and slip stitch into your first double crochet, just like that. Now what we're going to do is the exact same thing that we did over here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. You just do the same decreases in the same number of rows. So this is row 1 of our second point, and here was row 1 of our first point. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I believe we did 11 rows, and then we tied off after that when we had 3 stitches left. So just go ahead and work the same thing that over here that you did over here. I got both points are done now. Now if you look, there's going to be a little hole here. What we're going to do is get a yarn needle and a piece of yarn, and we're just going to sew up. There's 4 stitches on each side. And then like up the sides of these doubles, we're just going to neatly sew them up. I'm going to do the back and forth. I'm not going to go over. I'm going to do back and forth. Wait a minute. I said 4 stitches. There's only 2. I'm sorry. 2 stitches here and 2 stitches there for a total of 4. So 2 stitches on each side that need to be sewed. I don't know if you ever made pants. It's similar, I guess, to the way you would make pants. But just go ahead and get it sewed up here. And then kind of up the side here needs to be sewed. Nice and neat. I'm going to go down it again. That way I know it's so good. There we go. Now once you get it all sewed up nice and good, just want to go ahead and weave it in a couple more times to hide the tail. Of course, since you already sewed it a few times, it's going to be pretty well weaved in. Okay, once you get that done, one more thing I'm going to do before I add the pom-poms is go around this top with a row of single crochet just to clean up that top edge. And I'm going to use my white, but you can use any color that you want. I'm just going to start in the back here near the seam. So I'm just going to start in one of the stitches here right on top. So I got the back side of my work facing me. And I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to go back into that same stitch and single crochet. And now I'm just going to go around and I'm going to work 1 single crochet into the top of every stitch. And that'll clean that edge up really nice and make it look more finished. That's what you want, especially if you're going to be selling things. You want a nice clean look. I rarely leave my edges unfinished. Even though I don't sell, it's kind of a pet peeve to leave things unfinished for me. So I'm going to continue going around, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get back to the beginning. Okay, I've made it back to the beginning, and you should have a total of 26 stitches now. If you don't, or not 26, 56 stitches, I'm sorry. If you got like 55, 57, don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal, but go ahead and end with the slip stitch into your first single crochet, and then you can tie that off. And then we'll tie that tail. And now we're going to put some pom-poms on it. I'm just going to use a pom-pom maker that was donated to me to make some pom-poms. So you can make your pom-poms as large or as small as you want. So I'm going to go ahead and get mine made, and then I'll show you how I kind of sew them on, and then I put a dab of hot glue on there too to do it. So yeah, whatever color pom-pom, if you want big pom-poms or small pom-poms, it's up to you. However you want to do your pom-poms. You can leave them off if you want. You can put tassels on it if you want. Okay, I got my pom-poms made, and I got one on. I don't really sew them on too much. I usually do one little quick sew, and then I do the hot glue thing to hold them on, because I use hot glue a lot with yarn. But if you sew on your pom-poms completely, that's fine. I usually just take my tail and kind of grab that string that I knotted there. And I usually only just do it like one time. Pull it real tight to the end, and then go through here. This, pull it really tight, and then kind of weave this tail in through there. And then what I'll do is just put a dab of hot glue underneath it where you can't see it, and the pom-pom will not ever come off if you use hot glue. I can't say never, but I've never had a situation where anything hot glued, it'd come off of yarn. I talk about hot glue often in my tutorials because I use it so much whenever I put stuff together. Yarn and hot glue is just a match made in heaven. It really is. So now what I'll do is I'll just take my hot glue gun and I'll put just a dab of hot glue here and then a little bit on this side and hold it there for a minute, and I'll do the same to the other pom-pom. But that's it. That's all there is to it. I might put a little button on it, but it turned out pretty cute. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't ever miss an update on any of my tutorials. And don't forget to check me out on Facebook, where if you make this or anything else, I'd really like to see a picture of it. You can post a picture on my Bagoday Crochet Facebook page. I'll put a link to that below in the description box. And until next time, have a good day.